Good evening, everybody. If we want to come gather, there's plenty of seats. If people want to sit, if you want to stand, that's totally understandable as well. Welcome.
Welcome, everybody.
My name is Dan Backadall. I'm an actor from the Second City. That's how I come to be here. There seems like there's two camps here. There's the musicians and the Second City folks. So I'm from that camp. Welcome.
I'm also from that camp. My name is Dana.
I think we get our asses kicked, quite frankly.
Somebody said rumble, if you didn't hear that.
I'm terrified already, but
yeah, we don't want to rumble. We don't want to rumble.
Yeah, so we're gonna do a little introductions here, and then we're gonna have some music, and then there's gonna be some more introductions and some more music, and just enjoy yourselves. And thank you all so much for being here, and thank you to Steve Albini for bringing us all together. The person that I want to introduce is a person I met at the Second City back in, 2000, maybe 2001. Terrified, scared the shit out of me. Sorry to the children, but trust me, she was scary. And yet she took me into her good graces. And I don't know that I could ever thank her enough for all that she's done for me in my life and the kindness that she's shown me. But I'm going to welcome up Heather Winn, Steve's wife, and just wanted to let you guys know, in case you don't know, it's been 15 years since Heather was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and as a result, this can sometimes show itself in difficulty with speech or anxiety and things like that. So just know that that's on top of everything else that she's going through right now. She's dealing with that, and that's what she's bringing to us tonight. So please. Let's welcome Heather up. Thank you.
Oh my God, this is my worst nightmare. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming. It's amazing to see a bunch of people who knew Steve in a greater way than he was typically described. He used to joke, we used to joke that his obituary would read that he was a bespectacled curmudgeon noisemeister. And I think a couple years ago he said to me, do you think I'm famous enough that when I die that there'll already be an obituary written for me in the New York Times? And I had no answer to that, but it turns out the answer is yes. And there's so many people here that have their own stories about Steve and their own experiences, and I don't think I'm being I don't think it's too much to say that I think he changed literally the trajectory of lives of about 100 people here. He spoke in full paragraphs off the top of his head, not because he was trying to impress you, but because he was trying to impress himself. Because he cared that much about the things he loved and fighting for them, regardless of how it made him look or the shit that he took or the lies that were said. And for the people that didn't understand what art is, and that, I'm not exactly sure why people who write fiction or who make movies can get away, or screenwriters for Law and Order SVU can get away with writing stories from a first-person point of view, but musicians just cannot. And it is assumed that that is who they are, as opposed to writing from their own creative perspective and trying to introduce to the world. Number one of the best things that I ever did at Second City was to really appreciate masters of irony. And to watch it happen and to watch the process was phenomenal. And it made me understand music in a way that, because I'm just a fan, you know, I don't make art. I made a movie once because I wanted to, but and according to Wikipedia, I'm a filmmaker. But really, I'm a person who kicks bitches out of their chairs, of the chairs that they steal. Not only at a theater, but at any show, like the Wanda Sykes show. Remember, I kicked that lady out of that seat. So it's something that I felt particularly good about, and but in the process, I remember recognizing at that point that art, you know, there are things that are said about art in broad strokes about it being about the process, and then you are introduced to improv and you get it, and it was so overwhelmingly beautiful to me. The idea of yes and has become almost a mantra in my life, and I won't let anybody speak to me in any other tone. And Steve was always a yes and person. Steve answered the phone at any time. It didn't matter who it was. You know, sometimes somebody would walk up to him and start talking to him and ask him a blunt question, and he would give them the answer that was true. And then they would say, I'm a reporter for GQ. And then he would call me up and he was like, I think I fucked up. And I'm like, call Sonic Youth and apologize. So, you know, I would ask him, did you say anything that wasn't true? And he would say, no. And I go, well, then just apologize, because they're your friends. And eventually I think he understood through that, and then through the people that I knew, and through the process of improv, that privilege, I know these are words that get thrown around really easily now, but we all need to make a stand. And we all need to speak against what is wrong. For some people, like Steve, and like many of you here, you have the privilege to speak for somebody else's fight, because you're not going to take the punch. And I think that's what Steve eventually learned, was that for bands like Rape Man and for things that were ugly in the world, he could present them, write about it from whatever perspective he did, but he wasn't the one who was going to take the punch. Because those things don't happen to him. And I think he grew to understand that in a way that was impressive and lovely. And him being open to answering any of those questions at any time of the day. If he answered the phone, it didn't matter who you were. He would tell you an answer. Like, I remember one time he would get a call in the middle of the night, and I would just hear him describing what the mic set was for the drum set on the Nirvana record, right? And I'd be like, we gotta go to fucking sleep, you know? And initially I would say, you know, why do you give these secrets away? Which is so stupid now. And he would say, you know, nobody's gonna make it sound like I sound. And I think that is true for all of us and all of the art we make. And the more that you can give and say yes and, the greater possibility you have made for yourself to grow, because the more people will be interested in what you have to say. But just know that you can't fight other people's fights. You need to be an ally in the way that really counts, which is giving people money. You know, and I say that and I mean that because that became my life about 20 years ago. And Steve, this is something you don't know about Steve. Steve died with $65 in his bank account. Every day he would carry about $200 in his wallet. Literally anyone who would ask him for money, he would give it to him or them. At every stop sign, I would tell friends of mine that were really poor, and I would say, just ask Steve for money, he'll give it to you. And my friend Rashida was like, really? And I go, yeah, go ask him. And she's like, Scooter, which is what she called him. She said, Scooter, do you have $100? And he opened up his wallet. He's like, yep, and he gave it to her. And I think that became his next fight, was greed, and money so disgusted him that it controls people's lives. And I just can't look out in this crowd and not think that maybe if you can somehow consider this in your own life, that we can change the way that Steve was seen, and the way that many of you, I'm sure, have been seen also as being minimized by what you have to say because it's just music, or you do it in a way that isn't attractive. And if I could fight for every one of you, I would. I'll certainly kick a bitch out if I have to. And we all have to grow up, right? So I don't know how I'm going to do that without shaming them, because that's the only way I know how to kick people out, is through shame. But seeing everybody here who all knew Steve in their own way, because there's also poker guys here, right? Who only know Steve as a poker guy, who Steve won 2 World Series of poker. What's it called? WSOP? Was somebody? Yes. 2 bracelets, and I'll tell you what he did with the second one. The second one, he busted up into pieces and had each of them made into pins, and he gave it to every one of the guys that had supported him financially. So I'm not here just to say that Steve was a good guy. I'm here to say that Steve, I can't even believe I'm speaking about him in these terms. He was he was truly unique. and anything that we can do to fight in the way that he fought for whatever it is that's important to you is what we owe the people around us who don't have that opportunity. I'd like to, am I introducing Gina or somebody else? So, Gina Albini is my mother-in-law. She's gonna come up here and read Steve's obituary. Yep.
While Gina is making her way up to the stage, I'm going to read an excerpt from an email that Steve had written to her. Throughout this weekend, you'll hear people reading their thoughts on Steve, reading things that Steve has written. And so this is my opportunity to read an excerpt from an email that Steve wrote for Gina. And here it is. I love getting emails from you. They're exactly like a conversation, and you have a distinctive writing style. I'm smiling like an idiot right now, so thank you. You're my hero. I love you. Please welcome Gina Albini.
I would like to welcome every one of you. I'm so grateful that you're here. And I'm so grateful that Steve had not only friends, but people he considered part of his family. I consider you part of my family, too. Thank you. Thank you for giving Steve your love and support through all these years, through all his many endeavors. Steve was a unique and special guy, my little boy. Growing up, he had a wonderful brother and a sister. They sometimes got along. Otherwise, he had a myriad of friends that he grew up with. We moved a lot of places, and every time we did, he managed to find a few kindred souls. When he came to Chicago, he found the world. He was so happy here. The best thing he ever did was find Heather. Heather, you made my son's life a joy. Thank you. This is an obituary that my son Marty, Steve's big brother, wrote, and I'd like to read it to you. Steve Albini entered this world on July 22nd, 1962, in Pasadena, California. He left it by a heart attack on May 7th, 2024. He leaves behind a grieving family and many friends and peers. This obituary will try to give the world an idea of the man we're missing. He was the youngest of three by Frank, at that time a grad student at Caltech, and Gina, high school sweetheart, from the hardscrabble town of Madera, California. Steve played clarinet in grade school, and starting in high school in Missoula, he gravitated toward the emerging punk rock genre, teaching himself the bass to play for a band called Just Ducky. I have to make an aside here. Just Ducky's first paying gig was to play for the prom at Corvallis, Montana. Corvallis is a very small town, quite conservative. After the first number, the principal got up and said, "That's it, we're shutting this down." Steve just folded up his gear. The guys went out in the car, grabbed the check that they had the presence of mind to get before they played, cashed it on the way out of town, and came back to Missoula. That was Just Ducky's first, and I think only paid performance. This obsession with music led to playing guitar and forming the band Big Black while he attended Northwestern University studying journalism. His journalistic career also started in high school, writing record and concert reviews for the Hellgate Lance. These writings led to his first death threat. Steve wrote about a band that came to town, a big band, who shall be nameless. He thought they phoned it in. And he said, when you pay money for a band, they got to give you your all. They just can't phone it in. Well, there were people who objected to this comment, and he got death threats over the phone. He was so proud. He said, "Ma, it makes me feel like a real journalist." It was the first of several. He would go on to write essays for various fanzines and music publications, including one called The Problem with Music, detailing how musicians benefited very little from the business practices of the recording industry. Go read it, it's epic. Steve was fearless, willing to speak up about what he cared about, and unconcerned about who took offense. This behavior did not always serve his commercial interests, but it gave him a reputation as a man of integrity who could not be bought or bullied in an industry that did a lot of both. Following Big Black, he formed the band Rape Men, named after a Japanese comic book and intended to be provocative, but a name he later regretted. And the band Shellac. Starting with his own bands and those of his friends, he began to record as a sound engineer. This activity led to a studio in his home in Chicago, which eventually grew into electrical audio. A converted commercial building he turned into his dream studio. You can read about all the bands and projects he's been associated with elsewhere. He's not hard to find on the internet. It's a long and storied list. In 1996, he and his girlfriend, and later wife Heather, began a simple project to help Chicago area families in need. They picked up letters at the post office collected from kids writing to Santa. The requests were for basic necessities, and they were moved to organize friends to donate what they could. They spent every Christmas thereafter delivering gifts to change the lives of the poorest of the poor. This effort grew into an annual 24-hour fundraiser at Second City, which is now a charity known as Letters to Santa, part of the Poverty Alleviation Charities of Chicago. All that activity is public, but Steve and Heather are responsible for countless other acts of private generosity. Without going into the list, and you know who you are, your stereotype of a punk rock musician probably doesn't include the beloved uncle who barbecued for the weddings of his nieces and nephews, the devoted husband who stayed up late to cook for his wife, the studio owner who listed his cats as staff, and who went deep into debt so to keep his staff employed during the pandemic. Hosts of many stray humans in need of a bed, a meal, and a refuge from the cruelties of life. Steve tended to obsess about various projects, master them, and move on. Among these were model rocketry, photography, and he worked for a time retouching photos for an ad agency. Cooking, he published a food blog, and for a time, and the food blog was based on meals he prepared for Heather. For a time, he did some woodworking. He made some furnishings for the house he and Heather lived in, and of course, poker. Steve won 2 bracelets at the World Series of Poker and hosted a regular game at his home. Steve was generous with his time, willing to talk to anyone wanting to follow in his footsteps as a musician or recording engineer. He gave lectures around the world and sat for many interviews, often patiently fielding the same questions, but always with a thoughtful answer. His studio hosted many light-hearted but highly technical videos on science and technology of sound recording, and hosted numerous interns looking to learn his craft. His family is drawing some comfort from the worldwide outpouring of support and affection and remembrances. We're glad we got to share him with you, and we urge you to do something generous in his memory. Steve is surrounded by his wife of 16 years, Heather Winn, his mother Gina, his brother Marty, and sister Mona Goldbar, and numerous nieces and nephews, aunts and uncles, who urge you to make a lot of noise in his honor. Thank you. Now, Steve died of a heart attack, which may have been caused by undiagnosed high blood pressure. As a mother, I beg you, please get your blood pressure checked. Do it for Steve.
I think Heather's going to come up for a second.
Come on up, Heather.
So I did want to say, which I forgot, and I'm glad that Gina brought it up, is that when I look into people's faces, I can see that they want to know how Steve died. And I feel like people have a sense of relief when I tell them. So I'm just going to tell you what happened. So on Tuesday, May 8th, I think it was, he cooked for me. I sent Gina a picture of the last meal that he cooked for me. And he came upstairs and he said, "My chest feels tight." And, you know, he's 61, but, you know, he was lifting gear every day. He never had any symptoms. I think he might have been getting plantar fasciitis, but other than he would complain about his heels hurting or something. But otherwise he had no symptoms. And he said, my chest feels tight. I think I'm going to take myself to the emergency or to the urgent care. And I was like, I'm going to take you to the emergency room. You're not going to drive your fucking self to. So he turned around, and we have a set of stairs that he just collapsed. And he fell down the stairs, and his body, his leg was twisted in a way that didn't look comfortable. And Steve was not one to keep his discomfort quiet. So I knew that something was really wrong, that he wasn't recognizing the pain that he was in. And I lifted his head because his face started to turn purple. So I lifted his head and he gasped. And now, in retrospect, I think that was the air leaving his lungs. I believe that and I don't believe this for any other reason except it happened in front of my eyes, I believe he literally died. I think he said to me his chest hurt, his chest felt tight, and then he died. The emergency crew came. I called 911. They worked on him for 40 minutes. Tim and Vicky, Hunter Midget, came and stayed with me. They wouldn't let me be down with him. The crew, the paramedics wouldn't. And I'll just tell you, I just screamed his name the whole time. I just thought that if he heard me, that he would snap out of it. And they worked on him for 40 minutes, and then they took him to the hospital. And then we went to the hospital, And then they brought us into a separate room, and I knew that wasn't a good sign. And I just started screaming in a way that is not familiar to me. And the doctor was crying, and they said that they had worked on him for a long time and that he hadn't had air to his brain for a long time and that he'd passed. And that's what happened. And what I can say that Gina brought up to me was he had just gotten home from France 2 days before that. And I am so grateful that he was at home. And that the last thing he did was work on a record, come home, and cook for me. And if it doesn't matter if you don't have any symptoms, please go get yourself checked out. Because Steve loved you, and now we love you.
Thank you, Heather, for sharing that with us. We are going to have another part of Steve's life come up to the stage, but I'm going to start off by reading some words from Steve about that person. Martin, my big brother, is a hell of a guy. Way, way smarter than me. He and his equally remarkable wife are raising a trio of kids, Fiona, Jethro, and Ivan, who will be way, way smarter than me, too. I admire my brother for defending his world and making it work completely, for being funny and smart, for validating dorkiness, and for sticking to his guns for every second. Llamas, children, motorcycles, horses, spinning wheel, chickens, big dog and all.
So, as a one of four brothers myself, it's my pleasure to welcome Steve's brother, Marty.
Thank you. That last bit was written facing out to people who didn't know Steve. It was an obituary for people who I wanted to introduce them to my brother. What I have now is facing in for the people who loved him. And I wanted to put Steve in context. So bear with me, please. So there was a picture that hung over my grandparents' dining room table. It was of a Boy Scout troop. In that picture was the Scoutmaster, my grandfather, a Catholic priest, my uncle, the Eagle Scout, who's here today, and the Scouts. And almost all the Scouts were either black or Mexican. My grandfather formed that troop because no other troop in town would have them. And years later, those Scouts threw a reunion to thank him. They'd all become successful men. And they credited that experience of being in that Boy Scout troop with starting them on their way. But he didn't do it for people to thank him. He did it because it was the right thing to do. His daughter, Steve's mom, who you've just met, at 85 runs a free lunch program that has fed thousands of college students. She and my dad hosted Vietnamese refugee kids, fostered them through high school. That uncle I mentioned, the Hayward, California Event Center is named after him. What I'm getting at is our generation, we have a lot to live up to. Steve did that. Steve lived up to that. And you've heard about the good deeds that Steve and his wife Heather get up to. They don't do them so that you know about them. They do them because they recognize that if you want to live in a kinder world, You have to build that world. We don't live in that world yet. It's full of people who find it better to curse one candle than to light the darkness. Seriously, fuck those people. Let's build that kinder world just to piss them off, if for no other reason. So now we, the people who loved Steve, we have a lot to live up to. We have a kind world to build. So start now. Start anywhere. Get your hands dirty. You might not get a street named after you, but you can walk tall down whatever street you're on, knowing you did what you could. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. A lot has been said about Steve and music, so without any further ado, we're going to start bringing up some musical acts. So first up is an artist that Steve actually worked with.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Good thing. We didn't hire someone out, which is good. That would have been, that'd be really fucking weird if we hired some dude from Zion and said, "You free?" All right.
It's a local Beach Boys cover band, and you're going to love them.
You're going to love, but you're going to have to kick your shoes off. Don't step on a pop top. Oh, shit, that's Jimmy
That's
Buffett.
Jimmy Buffett.
Oh, I just lost a lot of cool points with this crowd.
You did. That's okay. We're going to get it back because we're going to introduce a very talented musician right now. Please welcome to the stage Rachel Grimes.
It's my honor. That was incredible to hear from you all. He's here with us. That much I know. So for Heather, Gina, Marty, family, friends, let's live it to max. Let's enjoy ourselves, celebrate this precious life we have. So without further ado, I'm going to play a cover that would probably make Steve slightly uncomfortable. Bacharach and David's What the World Needs Now Is Love. And then I'm going to play one of my songs called Every Morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Richard, for that. It was awesome. You haven't met me yet. My name's Anthony, and Dana and I, we do a lot of things with 24 Hour. And as we wait for our next musician to come and get set up, we're going to do what we usually do during that 24 Hour, where we vamp in between what's going on.
Sure, absolutely.
We are very fortunate to get to do the 24 hours of that entire time and see some awesome musicians and people play, but one of the best times was always when Steve would do fun, cool things in between as we were waiting for things to happen. I remember like the one year where he did interviews with people on stage in between every act getting set up, including Little Bub interviewed, Hot Doug got interviewed. And pretty awesome.
There were also a lot of times, one year he cooked all of the food for the whole 24, which means we got better food in that 24 hours than any of us deserved to have. It was the most delicious, and we're not used to that. It's like we get treated very well, don't get me wrong, but we don't get gourmet food for 24 straight hours.
Not at all. But one of the things that's happening this weekend is whenever the card games and the dice games that are happening, whenever you buy into those things that are happening, some of that money is going to be going to Letters to Santa. And I love playing poker. And that's a pretty awesome thing.
That is new information to me, and that just made me gasp. I'm very excited to hear that. That is so wonderful. So lose a lot of money this weekend.
100%.
It's going to a great cause, so lose a lot of money.
Now, the reason why I wanted to do that segment that way is because Shannon, who is coming up next, she has played a lot of things that we have done. A lot of 24 hours experiencing this wonderful music happen, and us having to do weird jokes around it.
Yeah. She's seen us, I think, at the best and the worst of what we can do during 24 straight hours of comedy and music. And when I say she has the voice of an angel, just buckle up. She's got the voice of an angel, so brace yourselves.
For Shannon
Lay.
Okay, now we're ready to rip. Thank you so much for having me at this beautiful event. It's really lovely to be here with you guys.
Each night asphalt dreams come. I didn't know what happened.
Thank you so much.
I'll miss the sea, but I'm longing to grow without change. Something sleeps inside us, wrapped away, wrapped away. Sleep, I must awaken. Have you always been who you are? Without change, something sleeps inside us, wrapped away, wrapped away. I will miss my home, but I'm longing to grow. I will miss my pain, but I have to make way for something better. Make way without change. Something sleeps inside us, wrapped away, wrapped away. Have you always been who you are? I will notice where my tracks are laid. I will ask if they serve me. I will see and agree to receive all I need. Have I always been who I am? Without change, something sleeps inside us, wrapped away, wrapped away. Have you always been who you are?
I had a really good cry on the way to the airport today when I realized Steve wouldn't be here in his body. But the kind of thing that swirls around stillness, it's like the black of space around the stars is where we all exist and where we'll always exist. And it was really beautiful to feel him there. This last song that I'm going to sing has a lot of space in it, and I want to encourage you to just feel your place in it and own that and claim it and know that you make a difference in that space.
I sit here quiet, fingers folded, holding something I can't see. I must not fear what comes tomorrow. I must not dream of yesterday. I'm harboring a deep compassion. Slowly it is what I keep. I watch it grow from far, from close. Awaken the nature that is me. I have to get out of California. The days go by like smoke in the wind. Oh, to grow, oh, to discover the nature without, the nature within. I am so still, I feel the earth turning. The moon falls slowly into place. Do not resist, new forms are calling. They patiently await embrace. Do not stop change in favor of comfort. A bud cannot resist to bloom. The more I learned, the less I knew. Allow the nature that is you. I have to get out of California. The days go by like smoke in the wind. Oh, to grow, oh, to discover the nature without, the nature within. Thank you, Steve Albini.
When I said she had the voice of an angel, you thought, well, Dana, that's an overreach. And then you heard her, and you're like, wow, Dana, you were very right. How about one more time for our Shannon Lay, please?
So hello, my name is Kevin Dorff, and I'm from Second City, but I'm also from here. I'm from Chicago. I grew up on the southeast side, and I was pretty impressed not long ago when I watched Steve take Anthony Bourdain to Rico Benny's. and making them eat the steak sandwich. I grew up here. I've had 100 shitty jobs here. I was in a car wash. I worked in construction. I got fired from 2 banks. Chicago is in my blood. It's in the water I passed in the morning. It's completely my body. But I swear to God, I could not have done a better job of showing someone around Rick O'Penny's than Steve did in that segment. And another guy that came to Chicago originally as a stranger and is now kind of a real native, also with the voice of an angel, is coming up.
Absolutely. A lot of people call him Chicago's native son. But really, the world calls him.
The world loves him. The world calls him son. The world wants him to be a son. The world wants him to be a son-in-law. The world can keep on hoping. He belongs to us. Jack McBrayer.
How dare you? How dare you all? I'm a national treasure. Not this nation. I am so honored to be here. I am from the Second City, the comedy world that we all got to know and love. Heather Winna, know and love Mr. Albini as well. And I am honored as well to be doing another reading of a Steve Albini email. This one was actually written up in an article for Pitchfork magazine back in September 2015. The title of it is Steve Albini Email About How Much He Hates Dance Music Turned into Billboard Advertisement. So there's a little bit of exposition that I'll read, and then I'll read the email, but I have to warn you, there's going to be the names of like some bands and artists in here that I might mess up because I am the whitest person in the planet, and I don't know beans about much. So you get what you pay for, Heather. But here we go. Steve Albini email about how much he hates dance music turned into billboard advertisement. Diagonal label boss Oscar Powell also releases music as Powell via XL. His latest single, Insomniac, coming soon on XL, features a vocal sample from Steve Albini that dates to his time fronting Big Black. Ahead of its release, Powell emailed Albini to get sample clearance and explain how much Big Black's music meant to him. However, as The Quietest reports, Albini gave more than his approval. He also included a long rant on how much he hates dance music. Although he says he hasn't heard Insomniac, Albini wrote, I am absolutely the wrong audience for this kind of music. I've always detested mechanized dance music. It's stupid clubs where it was played, the people who went to those clubs, the drugs they took, the shit they liked to talk about, the clothes they wore, the battles they fought amongst each other. Basically all of it. 100% hated every scrap. The electronic music I liked was radical and different. Shit like The White Noise, Suicide, Kraftwerk, and the earliest stuff from Cabaret Voltaire, SPK, and DAF, or DAF, I don't know. When that scene and those people got co-opted by dance club music, I felt like we lost a war. I detest club culture as deeply as I detest anything on earth. So I am against what you're into and an enemy of where you come from. But I have no problem with what you're doing. In other words, you're welcome to do with whatever you like, with whatever of mine you've gotten your hands on. Don't care. Enjoy yourself. Steve. And then a quick addendum to it. Powell, the artist, asked if he could use that email to promote the single. And when Albini responded, still don't care. The text was turned into a billboard by XL, and it could be found on London's Commercial Street. So that's Albini making waves everywhere. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Jack. Yeah, thank you, Jack. Comedy legend.
Thank you, Jack.
And
don't worry, folks, that's over. Yeah. He's not coming back up here.
No, he's already left.
You don't have to listen to that anymore.
We, with apologies to
whoever originally came up with this bit, we're going to steal something called fake Italian. So if you were the one that started it out there, thank you. We're boosting it for this introduction. I'm going to speak a fake Italian because, as Stefano Albini told me, when you say mean things in a fake Italian, they sound nice. Our next guest is a very nice man.
No, I speak Russian. No matter what, how you say in Russian, always sound it's bad.
So anything I say that is bad, it sound good.
And then it's good, but it's gonna sound bad.
So let's just talk about Fred Armisen.
No, Fred Armisen, he's a nice guy.
Very nice man. He do anything. He wake up in the morning, he play the keyboard, he play the drum, he play the guitar. He do it all equally adequately. For the whole morning.
No glasses. It's okay. I don't have a problem with that.
Then he done playing the music, he go make a TV show. Beautiful, funny, laughter TV show. With the small cadre of actors he's still comfortable performing with.
Fred Armisen, yeah. My third favorite Fred. Number 3. Number 1, it's a Flintstone. Number 2, Schneider. Love Shack, come on, it's cool. Number 3, Fred in the whole of the world is, Armisen.
Fred Armisen.
I like him a lot. Number 3.
There's nothing he can't do. There's nothing he can't do better.
He's not doing now. Is somebody else doing for him? See how good he is? He gets someone do it for him.
They aspire to be like him.
I like leader like Fred Armisen, who say, you go set up my drum. I'm playing the drum.
Right. He make you do. He inspires so many people.
Fred Armisen?
Fred Armisen.
Inspire many people. Okay.
He inspires so many people because he do so many things. It's like he is more than one man inside of him.
No, it's true for sure. He has like many men inside him.
He has many people inside of him, inside of his Fred. Is many Freds.
Yes, many, not just one Fred inside, many Fred.
And that is why I love him so much. So good, so many talented, so many things he can do, make it look easy, even when they're easy.
Yeah, I wish I have many inside me Pashas. I only have one Pasha. How I compete with Fred Armisen, who have many Freds inside him.
So many friends, so many people. We love this man, and I am a one. I love him so much. I watch everything you do, and it take up all of my time. I have no time left to earn a living. I watch him so much.
I get the gist from just one video. I get it, and I go, yeah, I like it. It's good. But I don't have to watch it all. I mean, come on.
I can't take my eyes off him. He's a wonder to me. How can so many things accrue to one man?
I can't put my eyes on him right now. Where the fuck is this guy? He's supposed to be setting up his shit, man. This is a guy. This is a leader. This is a man we should follow. We talked earlier about following a leader. I think Fred is going to be our leader.
I hope you enjoy him as much as I do. I hope we all have a chance to have a special memory of him tonight. He coming now to make you laugh, to make you sing, to make beautiful music, all just as adequately as he do everything else. Fred Armisen.
Number 3 Fred in the world.
Thank you. Look at all this. Thanks, everybody. Just setting up a few things. Yep. Great. All right. start looking on the screen. Wow, I think it's working. Hi, everybody. I think you could see the screen there, right? Steve and I used to critique flags. We had this thing where, like, we would send each other flags and just sort of, like, either rip them apart or compliment them. So I collected some of the texts that we had, and I sort of turned it into these flags. So these are his quotes. These are some things Steve said. I think these are great observations. We're going to start out with, this is the flag of Kiribati. You guys can all see that, right? Steve sent this, and he said, what's the story they're trying to tell here? I'm intrigued. This is Bhutan. Oh man, Bhutan. Fuck yes, dragons. Now, this is one I sent to him. I sent him Switzerland, and I thought it was a good design. I was just like, hey, this is pretty cool. I like the simplicity of it. Steve said, I mean, it's okay, low effort. This is one he sent to me, and we were talking about the American flag. This is Cape Verde. He said, our flag, the U.S., is such a shit show. This flag, the Cape Verde one, puts us to shame. Our flag eats shit. This was a series. We started sending each other the three-stripe ones. You know, a bunch of European ones have them. My opinion was, like, I think they're okay, but sometimes they're a little too similar to each other. He said, kind of rooting for the three-stripers. This one, he had some, he was against these. He said, a little irritated by the ball in the middle group. They piss me off. They're, like, too cool for cross or color bars. They're the pink highlights of a nose ring of flag design. And those flags, by the way, that's Palau, Laos, Japan, and Bangladesh. And Brazil, which he said, Brazil put a little English on their cue ball, at least. Now, this is the Taliban flag. And I sent it to him that was in a little bit like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is too much. He said, I mean, that's incredible. It's like a cartoon argument. I legitimately love that flag. No offense to the dead. That's accurate, isn't it? It is like a cartoon argument. This is Gibraltar. He's sort of doing this in quotes. Such a kooky place. We're a city. We're a whole fucking country. We got Stoner Pete to do the flag. It is a really weird flag, isn't it? Because it's a red castle, which is very mysterious. It's not a specific castle, with those black entrances and this giant key hanging out of the front. It's kind of abstract. Now, this one I thought was a little boring. This is Trinidad and Tobago. Steve said, see, I don't mind that. It's like a store brand version of a Kit Kat bar. You know, you see what we're doing here? It's all for legal reasons. This is Mississippi. Mississippi had a new flag, and he just wrote back, we did this one already. Meaning, like, this whole thing of a flower and just, like, redoing things wasn't that exciting to him. And then the very last one is Minnesota got a new flag. And I think it's a little bit of a controversial flag, you know, as people discuss it. But he was saying, not bad. Decent flag, I have to admit. So those are the flags. I'm sure you guys all go through the same thing. I just scroll back. I just keep looking through those again, and they really do make me laugh. They're such good observations, but they keep me close to him. Thanks for watching those. I just want to talk a little bit about some music stuff, and I'm gonna play you some music. I have a thing where, like, if I go to see a band, I have a hard time. If a band is playing in 4/4, I can kind of move along to it, and I'm fine in front of other people. But when there's odd timing, I can't sort of catch it and look cool in front of everybody. So I'm going to do my impression of watching a band that we all love, but not being able to catch the beat. Here we go. I'll say the band is up here. Thank you. Sometimes going to amusement parks, like the high-end ones, they're very well designed. They're very futuristic, very friendly, very clean, but they haven't figured out the sound design. In line for like a ride, the music that they pipe in is like the theme music to whatever movie that it's from. And it's very dramatic and exciting, but waiting in line is so boring. You're just like, it's like an hour that you're waiting there. You've run out of things to talk about with your friend. So I'm going to do my impression of waiting in line for the Jurassic Park ride. Thank you. There's a genre of music. Do you ever go to like a small town and you go down the main street and there's like a little sandwich board or something that says, pointing to like a bar, live music. It doesn't say what band it is. Well, live music should be its own genre because there's a sound to it. When it's just like regular music. And I don't mean that music should be played live. I just mean that the genre of live music, because it's usually this. It's usually kind of like this kind of. This genre should be called live music. Thank you. All right. I'm going to do some impressions behind the drums for you. Let's see. Well, we can almost. There we go. Ooh, that's almost there. There we go. That's great. This is great. I'm just gonna do some impressions of. This is the history of punk rock on the drums, and I'm gonna do. 1969 to 1999, and I'm going to start off with the Velvet Underground, and that was like kind of like a very simple beat, no kick drum, and kind of walking down the boulevard with a flower. And then 1974, the Ramones had like a very sort of straight ahead beat, no fills or anything, just kind of like. I just wanna watch TV, my baby got a love out of me. And then 1976, in England, bands like The Clash and the Sex Pistols had a similar kind of feel, but quarter notes on the hi-hat instead of eighth notes. So that was a little bit more like...
I don't want to go to the ambulance. I do not want to go.
And then like a little bit after that, bands like McBrayer and Gang of Four would sort of turn a lot of these beats sort of upside down. They weren't as straight ahead, so...
I am a neon light, fascist.
Then like 1978 or so, like over in the States, there was like that sort of spooky sort of rockabilly happening, like the Cramps, you know, like And then like 1979, there was this weird movement, and a lot of people think of it as more of the new wave movement, but like there was this reggae thing going on where like a lot of bands like XTC were and the Police were kind of like...
Yo, yo.
Then, like 1982, 1983, over in the States, things got like pretty fast. You know, like a little more political with like American hardcore, like.
Unless you think.
And then, like, somewhere in the hardcore movement, it got a little... There was, like, a country-ish kind of thing going on, you know, like a little... Somewhere, like, in the 80s, bands like Sonic Youth sort of approached the drum kit like they'd never seen a drum kit before. Like, very sort of, like... There's a candle on my boot. Somewhere like I'd say like early 90s, bands like Fugazi, some bands from Seattle sort of slowed things down into a halftime feel. So there was a lot of like... And there was like, the 90s to me were like a lot of build-ups into nothing, you know, like. Let's see there. I guess we could do like, 90s would also be like Sleater Kinney, that sort of offbeat thing of like, don't go too slow, I'm out of control. There was also like that like super happy like ska movement like towards the end of the 90s, you know, that like really like American version of like, you know,
your mom and dad were the best you ever had.
So that's kind of a history of some punk rock. Thank you. Really quick, the last thing I'm going to do is, do you guys know the song I'm Coming Out by Diana Ross? You know, I'm coming out. That song, the intro, sounds like the drummer never learned the song. Like they never showed the drummer how the song goes. So I'm going to do my impression of the drummer for Diana Ross. I'll say Diana's like right up here at this microphone. So let's see. Miss Ross? Miss Ross? I don't know this song. What do you want me to do? Miss Ross? You want me to do a fill? What do you want? Miss Ross? How do you guys all know the song? Miss Ross? Miss Ross, Diana. That's the real intro to that song, and you will never hear that song the same way again. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. It's great to see you all.
Let's get it one more time for friend Armisen. Thank you so much for joining us here for our first time in the gazebo. We're going to be coming back here several times over the course of this weekend as we share space with each other and time celebrating and remembering Steve.
Really, we all just want you to know that this is the most special thing in the world, and we want to thank Heather and everyone involved for getting this off to a wonderful start. And we look forward to sharing the rest of the weekend with you as we remember truly the wildest, funniest man there was.
Awesome. So we'll see you back here tomorrow in the morning. 11 o'clock we'll be back here. So thank you so much, and spend time with each other. Talk to each other.
Thank you.